So now, how did this current conflict begin? Well, in 2020, the pandemic came about. So there was going to be elections, and a Tigrayan representing the Prosperity Party, the party of Abiy Ahmed, was going to be contesting the election in Tigray for the presidency of the Tigray region. They were going to be going against the TPLF. But now, let me give you a little insight about this TPLF group. These guys were so much of a kleptocrats when they were in power. They did not even build their own state, build up their own state. They just lined their pockets with money. So that election, had it gone on, they would have lost. Polls were showing that they were going to lose, and they were going to lose big. So come in the pandemic comes in, and so because of the pandemic, they had to postpone the elections everywhere. The elections were postponed, but the TPLF decided, because they were the government in charge at the time in Tigray. They had the presidency of Tigray at the time. They decided that no, they would continue with the election during the pandemic, in defiance of the order from the central government. Now, no government will be tolerant of that. Part of the reason why they decide to do that is because if nobody else contesting, then they can win. So they went ahead and had elections, sham elections, and won the election. So the central government blocked money from them. They held the purse. Because they held the purse, so these guys went and attacked the Ethiopian military garrison in Tigray. That's where the fighting started from. My bet is that they were advised by the U.S. to do this. I don't have proof of that. Obviously, is my speculation, because there are a couple of things. If the TPLF captures all of Ethiopia, they're going to have problem ruling it, because people have seen their rule and don't like their rule, and they got kicked out. So, and then if they want to make Tigray an independent country, it's going to be a problem, because they don't have anything in Tigray to support themselves. First off, they would have been surrounded, except for Sudan, they would have been surrounded by enemies in Eritrea and the nation of Ethiopia that they would have left. So their thinking don't make sense. So this war seems like it was provoked so that when it become an issue, because they got a tough military, they will push the government. The government will be afraid, first of all, to challenge them. But if the government challenged them, they, with a tough military, could push the government into a situation where things get brokered. And when the broker stuff, the U.S. will come in, probably with the UN, and broker or new government without Abiy Ahmed, and obviously getting rid of some of the people who are the backbones of the current Ethiopian government, and putting in stooges who would then turn the country back into to an American stooge. And since the political power will no longer be proportional, TPLF will again have an outsized role, especially being the strongest army, the strongest militia that pushed the government into this new state. So this whole war, to me, was about regime change, getting rid of Abiy Ahmed. That was the whole point of this. Now, when the war started, the Ethiopian military made some good decisions. First, they called on the help of the Eritreans. I think that was a good political decision. And then one thing I immediately thought that they needed to do was to seize the border, to seal off that border with Sudan. Because even back when Mohamed Morsi was president of Ethiopia, I'm sorry, president of Egypt, he had a plan that he would cause problems in Ethiopia so that if they continue to build the dam, and he would send support through Sudan. So now the Sudanese, their government have been, they got a color revolution that deposed Omar al-Bashir, and the new Sudanese government runs at the tune of the U.S. They were a part of the Abraham Accords and all. Whether the military or not, they run at the tune of the U.S. So it was good military strategy that the Ethiopians sealed off that border. They sealed off the border with Sudan. So that means the TPLF, they're going to have to fight with the weapons they got there, and they can't get any support. So that's what they did first. And then with the help of the Eritreans, they came and they were able to seize Mekele. But then the Ethiopian government, I think, made a political mistake after the US and the UN and all the usual suspects accused them of human rights violations. They got bullied into telling the Eritreans to pull out. I think that was a big mistake. They don't have the manpower, so they should have kept the Eritreans, because the Eritreans are trained troops. They are very capable too. They should have kept the Eritreans, at least helping them seal off the top, take in some areas and leave some places, leave the other places for them to go and seize. The TPLF were so mad they fired some rockets at Asmara, the capital of Eritrea. So I think that was a bad mistake. It was a political mistake that it made, because a sovereign nation can choose any ally to come to its aid in an emergency. They don't need permission from the UN. They don't need permission from anyone. They're a sovereign nation that can call on anybody to help them fight in the war. They don't need that permission. But that's what Ethiopia ended up doing. I think that was a mistake on Abiy Ahmed's part. Probably was bullied, making him feel bad for the fact that once Eritrea was an enemy of the state. But Eritrea is not an enemy of the Ethiopian people. They and the TPLF couldn't get along. And that was a TPLF-led government. So he shouldn't have listened to them. But right now, we hear that in current day, right now, we hear that the TPLF is advancing, and they have advanced to take Kombucha, assuming that's true. They have taken Kombucha and Desi, two cities in in the Afar region. So the TPLF apparently advanced, and they're getting closer to Addis Ababa. So Desi is right around here. Kombucha is somewhere around here as well. So now the U.S. is trying to broker a ceasefire, and obviously it will be a ceasefire along the lines, the current battle lines, so that then they can plan and organize the removal of Abiy Ahmed and then come in with those puppets. I think the Ethiopians need to stand tall. Hopefully they didn't burn the bridges for help with Eritrea. I think Abiy Ahmed needs to reach out back to Eritrea and let them come in. Let the Eritreans come in and put pressure on Tigray from the north. Right? So if they still have the the Sudanese border sealed, and they better keep that sealed, because if they don't, that will become a problem, a serious problem, because the U.S. will use Sudan to funnel in weapons and support for the Ethiopians. And usually, what I think the Ethiopians did when the Eritreans pulled out, what they decided to do was to pull from Tigray and surround Tigray and pretty much put pressure on the TPLF from that perspective. Seal them in until they run out of weapons and supplies. And that was working. And because it was working, so all of the media was complaining. There was a big brouhaha about Ethiopians not letting UN in, not letting the UN and deliver food and medicine and stuff. Mind you, all of those things that the UN was delivering was going to go to the TPLF. So the TPLF now on their end, from their perspective, they are a trained military outfit. Understand that their next option, since they can't go through these borders, they can't go up north because the Eritreans, they can't get supply from the Eritreans, so you can't go through Sudan because that's sealed off. So they decided to attack through other states, through Afar and Amhara region, to push there and threaten the lines from Addis Ababa going to Djibouti, because there's transportation lines from Addis Ababa, because Ethiopia is landlocked, so a lot of the exports and imports comes through the port of Djibouti. So the TPLF was looking to use that as leverage to go and seize that and be able to then put pressure on the government. Now, the military mistake I think the Ethiopian government is making is that they're training these new recruits and they're sending them into battle right away, and they're getting captured. They're getting captured a lot. I think some 400 were captured just the other day. You can train those guys, but you need to bring them. They need to be trained properly, and they need to come into the fight little by little, so that they can cut their teeth on something smaller until you get there, instead of just throwing them in the fight. It's not going to work. Not against seasoned troops like the Tigrayans. So that's one thing that they need to change. get Eritrea back in the fight, and you know do something better with those recruits. They also, I would say, they need to put pressure on Mekele. Make sure, first of all, they need to make sure that that line to Mill, there's a city called Mill on that line, that on that transportation line to Djibouti. That's the main city that the TPLF wants to take. They need to make sure that doesn't fall. But what they need to do is start putting pressure on Mekele. Start attacking Mekele. That way, we make the TPLF have to divert some attention there. If they don't, it will cease Mekele. Also, they need to do a turning movement. So move up, institute a pincer operation at these areas to squeeze to punch out that salient and capture, thereby capturing all those troops, those TPLF troops that they either got to pull back or they'll be surrounded. Put them in the cauldron. Ethiopia also needs to decide, make that decision for themselves that they're going to go on the side of, they're going to align themselves with Russia and China. I think that would be a good decision for them to make and get military help, proper weaponry to fight these guys. Now, whether it's too late or not, I don't know. But the Ethiopians need to fight for their life. They need to fight for their sovereignty, and they need to fight for their very existence, because this fight is threatening the existence of Ethiopia as a country. You know, this past week, the mainstream media was just using heavy propaganda against Abiy Ahmed. We know what they want. They want to destroy this country and destroy this young prime minister. They made a big deal about a speech he made. A speech he made when about the rebels, the TPLF rebels. Oh, it was a big deal that the president said that he would bury, that the enemies would be buried with our blood. I don't know what else he's supposed to say. Right? I don't know what else he was supposed to say. These guys are trying to destroy his country.
We will bury the enemy with our blood and bones. Those were the words of Ethiopia's Nobel Peace Prize winning President Abiy Ahmed. He was speaking in Addis Ababa on Wednesday as he marked 1 year since war broke out in the northern Tigray region, and amid fears the conflict could be heading for the capital.
The pit which is dug will be very deep. It will be where the enemy is buried, not.
So, Ethiopia needs to fight for their life. And this is, in the next 10 years, Africa is going to be rocked by these type of conflicts. Right now, another brewing one is between Morocco, another stooge of the U.S., and against Algeria. But Morocco better be careful, because Algeria don't play fun with their security. They're not like other African countries. Like long ago, Ethiopia is supposed to have gotten proper military weaponry to be able to protect their airspace. There's even a talk that TPLF has some white mercenaries with them. If those guys weren't there already before, they got there somehow. maybe through UN, maybe through they were sneaked in and airdropped there, but Algeria don't play with their security. So Ethiopia been should have made sure to have air defense, proper air defense, and all the military weapons that they needed to be able to defend their country. Another country that doesn't play fun with their security is Eritrea. All this nonsense that the TPLF is doing, they would not dare attack Eritrea on the ground. They might fire a little weapon here, a little weapon there, but they try that, they know they will be walloped. So this is where things are going in the next 5 to 10 years. When the U.S. when the U.S. talk about fighting China and standing up against China and Russia, they can't fight those people directly. So what they're going to be trying to do is to subjugate other countries so that they don't trade with those people. And African nations and Latin American nations, we have to watch their back a lot nowadays. Anyway, this is it for this episode of the Upriver Crawfish. I'm your host, Sankar. Please subscribe, like, and share. And let's try to get subscriptions up. I'll continue to bring stuff to you. Thank you.